just want to put a disclaimer out there before, we continue. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are grateful for that.
Yeah.
So in no way by us making this video, we trying to say that we are unhappy, that there's anything wrong with things turning out the way they did.
Yeah.
All the wisdom and all the knowledge is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're in no way trying to insult that. We're just kind of trying to reflect on our life and, take the benefits from it.
I think so. I think it's actually as well, it's a recognition of the advice that older people gave us that we didn't take. And and now we're trying to do the same thing. So we're kind of saying, well, let me see what I would have said to the younger me. And again, I might have listened, I might not. So I think it's a recognition on the wisdom that you gather throughout your life.
Yeah. I suppose it's like, where do you start? I've kind of looked at this video like what I would say to my past self at different times in my life. So like, where would be the first kind of place you'd be looking to go back to, and what would you say?
Probably in my 20s, I would say, teens, 20s, I'd probably go as far back as that. And what I would probably say to myself was that, just because you set the bar so high of your expectations of other people, it wasn't their fault that they didn't meet them. Sometimes we think, oh, that person let us down, or that person didn't give us what we were promised. But when we really go back and look at it, when I really go back and look at it, nobody made promises to me. I just had really, really high expectations. And it doesn't mean that that person is less of a person because he or she couldn't fill that. It's just that was my expectations of them. They never promised to fill that. And sometimes what we can do is we can take people in our life and we can put them on a pedestal. And they didn't ask to be put on the pedestal. So, they didn't even know what they were up against.
Yeah.
They didn't know those expectations were
there,
that they were expected to fulfill these.
Yeah.
So, no, and we can kid ourselves on and we can pretend that, oh, well, they knew that's what I was looking for, or they knew that I have high standards. Well, that's your standards, and your standards might be high to you, might be actually low to somebody else. So, everybody's got their own standards and they can only work within that.
And what difference do you think it would have made knowing what you know now?
I probably wouldn't have got as disappointed when things in my life didn't work out the way I expected them to. I would have just accepted it. So I think that's the thing, that the lesson I would give to my younger self, that your expectations should be realistic.
Nice.
What would you say to your younger self?
I think the first kind of the time that I would go back to is before I was Muslim. Just like maybe the year or two before I was Muslim, because my life was making really significant changes at that point, and not all of them were in my favour.
Yeah.
So I think kind of looking back at that time and looking back at the mentality of that time, alhamdulillah, the life that I was living is what led me to Islam, so I'm very grateful for that. But I do remember feeling like really, really lonely. And I think that's the thing when you're non-Muslim. When you don't know the purpose of life and where you're going and why you're here, when you don't have all those huge life questions answered, you're just wondering. Even if you're doing stuff, and I very much was doing stuff. I was at college, I was working at the weekend, so I was trying to better my life, but there was something missing.
Yeah.
And I really felt that, and I really felt a huge, hole. this is sounding so cliche and so cringe, but I felt like there was really something missing within. I think I would go back and console myself a wee bit, as cheesy as that sounds.
Oh, I'll console you.
No, I think I would go back and say, just kind of reassure myself sometimes, because I remember myself getting in some really dark places sometimes. And I mean really, really dark places. So I think I would go back and just reassure myself that, you're on the right track, and, it's not going to always be like this. And some of the most amazing changes are about to happen to your life, and you're going to feel awesome,
Yeah.
So I think I would just kind of go back and console that person a wee bit.
When you were going through that journey.
Yeah. But
Alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah. When's the next time in your life you would go back, and what advice would you give?
I think it would probably be my mid-20s. I think I would probably say my mid-20s. At that time, you're kind of moving on with your world. You've had your friends from school. They're absolutely fantastic, and that you think that's never going to change. You're then getting married. Things are changing. You're having children. I think what I would tell myself is, don't worry that you've lost these friends. They were put in your life for a purpose. There was a reason to it. And, if they've served their purpose, the friendship fades or completely disappears, don't beat yourself up thinking it's something you did. This is all part of Allah's bigger plan for you. And these people have served their purpose, and alhamdulillah.
So do you feel like you lost a lot of people during your mid-20s?
I think so. I mean, I lost a lot of people during my life. I was made an orphan at the age of 9.
Do you think because of that you take the loss of people like a bit more than others?
Yeah, I think so, because I think when you form friendships, you're just like, you're 100% there, you're 100%, loyal to that person. And I'm sure that person's 100% loyal. Again, that my expectations of the friendship might have not been theirs. So again, we need to talk to ourselves and say, these were your expectations. Don't fool yourself and feel hard done by. And looking back, I can see that people played a massive role in my life, and all for the good. But when they left, Allah replaced them with something better. And I think that's the thing that we need to know, that all of this is Allah's plan. With every hardship comes ease. So, to my 20-year-old or 24-year-old, I would say, chill out. Allah's plan is better than your plan.
Yeah. So I think I would say very similar to yourself, but I would probably lean more towards my early 20s. I was a few years Muslim, and again, it was a time where my life was kind of significantly changing.
Yeah.
And, as a revert at that sort of time, I hammered in to learning quite hard. Saying that and hearing that, you're probably like, that's amazing. But actually, I was doing it in a kind of passive-aggressive way.
Right.
I was almost frustrated. I was kind of angry at everything, to be honest with you. I was angry that, I mentioned this in a recent video, but I was really angry with the non-practicing Muslims that I had in my life before I became Muslim, and how they didn't teach me a true reflection of Islam. I also had this feeling of being late to Islam. And to be honest with you, that was kind of passed on through the communities I was mixing with at that time.
Right.
But I took it in, and it became my burden as well.
Yeah.
So I really felt that I was late to Islam, that I had wasted so much time. So it was just like, I really need to kind of hammer it in. And also, around that time, I was getting really kind of mistreated as a revert. I had many experiences of being isolated by the raised Muslim community.
Yeah.
That was really frustrating because, I've said it many times, the journey of a revert is quite a lonely one.
Yeah, I would agree
because
with that,
you
yeah.
don't really fit into either side. So I was in a really dark mentality, and I was holding a lot of anger. So I think if I was to go back and school myself,
Yeah.
I think, you know, one thing I would focus on is like me channeling my frustration and just give some advice on how to do that. And there's different ways of doing that you can find online. I won't get into that, but I would definitely focus on channeling that productively. But also come back and give myself a reminder that Islam is about balance. You know, it's about finding the balance. And if you're putting that pressure on yourself,
Yeah.
you're kind of falling more on the side of being extreme. Now, when I say extreme, I mean extreme within the guidelines of Islam.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous that I need to clarify these words. But yeah, I would say that I was putting far too much pressure on myself. You know,
Right.
and it actually, what ended up happening because of that, I ended up isolating myself. I stopped going to mosque. I stopped mixing with the raised Muslim community because it was too difficult. Do you know what I mean? And I knew as a Muslim, I didn't need anyone to be Muslim. I just needed my faith and I needed Allah. But what I've learned through that is actually isolating yourself is not, it's not Islamic. You know, you have a duty to yourself, you have a duty to your kids, and you have a duty to, you know, play your part within the community.
Yeah,
It's a responsibility as a Muslim, so I would go back and remind myself of that.
You were saying that, you know, there was raised Muslims who you felt weren't helping you. What would you say about them? What would you tell yourself about those people?
Very much like you, I wouldn't put anyone on a pedestal they didn't ask to be put on.
Yeah.
But I would also kind of remind myself that they are also people who have their own experiences and own stories, and their silence doesn't always mean something rude or something that is against you. Some people just don't know how to approach people.
Everybody's looking for a guide when they come to Islam, and I think we gravitate to born Muslims, but I think we've mentioned this in another video that they might have not had the knowledge to pass it on, so they weren't at fault for that. You know. And we weren't at fault for expecting it because we didn't. Our expectations were at that point that everybody that was a Muslim knew everything about Islam.
They had the key.
Case. Yeah,
they had the key, therefore they're perfect. But yeah, that's it. So I think I would just try and bring myself some balance. In your life?
Mine, I would say this would be in my mid to late 30s. By this time, I had 4 children. So I was a wife, I was a mum, I was a businesswoman, I was so many things. When you take on so many roles, the balls are in the air, you're juggling constantly. And, you know, I have been told I'm a bit of a control freak. Hands up, I am, and a bit proud of it.
Okay.
In my late 30s, I was dealing with 3 teenagers, because my kids were all sort of 2 years, a year and a half between each other. I was trying to keep my businesses going. I was trying to, you know, keep my home going. I was trying to look after my kids. I was trying to control everything. And then moving on to sort of maybe 5 years ago, I then realised, you know, that I'm now the mum of 4 beautiful, well-educated adults, and that I was never in control. I was never in control. It was a wasted effort trying to keep control. Allah was always in control.
Yeah, God bless your family, because I know how much you love them.
Alhamdulillah. But, you know, the thing is, when we let go of that and we actually realise, because we are in our youth, we're arrogant, but
Ignorant
we are.
and arrogant.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But we do think we're in control. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. I've got so many things to keep going. And now that I've managed to take a step back, and if I had wasted less time trying to be in control, I might have been able to be a bit more chilled out.
I would go back to about 5 or 6 years ago. I had you know, a lot going on in my life. I had 4 kids. I was working, I was studying, but I had a lot of different issues going on in my life as well. The issues weren't because of my responsibilities. I think if anything, my responsibilities kind of helped me handle and deal with the issues that were going on. Those difficulties really had a massive effect on my iman, and I found that as the years went on, it was becoming really, really difficult to, you know, do even the basics. It was the beginning of a huge change in me as a person. So I would go back to that time.
What would you tell yourself if you went back to that time?
I would remind myself that with hardship comes ease.
Alhamdulillah.
I would also, very much like yourself, remind myself that I cannot control everything around me.
No.
I can only control myself and the actions that I do and the things that I do and I don't do. You know, that is pretty much the only thing in my control. I would remind myself why I'm here on this earth. I would remind myself of my purpose. I feel like I forgot what that was. I kind of got lost in life and dunya. And when I say that, even my attachment, I've never really had a heavy attachment to the dunya. So it's not even like the materialistic stuff. It's just not being able to kind of sift through the fog and hear for the next. It's a test for the next, you know. So my actions and my handling of things should always be a reflection of that, and it just wasn't. And I would remind myself of a really beautiful ayah, and I think it's Surah 13. I'm pretty sure it's ayah 11. The ayah says, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change the condition of themselves. And I think that would have really helped me out. You know, alhamdulillah, things are great now. And that's because at some point I decided to choose my soul over, you know, everything else. My actions had to be, every single action down to the smallest action had to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I feel like that has now shaped my current situation, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, like you were saying there, you had peaks and troughs and peaks and troughs, and you know, we really need to admit this to ourselves, that this is likely to happen, because you know, when you're way up there, it's brilliant, and then when you go down, you feel that you're not worthy of the faith. But alhamdulillah, that Allah brings us back up. You know, even when we don't feel we're worthy, even when we're down in the dumps, Allah's always there. He's always cradling us, pushing us back up.
Well, He wants us to win.
Of course,
You know,
He does.
He wants us to make the right decisions.
People are like, oh well, certain persons they've got it together and they're doing fine, and that's who I want to be like. And then you think, like, I can't. So does that mean that there's something less in me? No, it means you're going through a learning stage, you know, and this is all part of Allah's plan. I know we keep going back to that, but it is part of Allah's plan. It's like if you're about to lose something, then it becomes more precious to you. And that's what the dips do. They make us think, are we going to lose our faith? I need to get back on track. So alhamdulillah, it becomes more precious to you when you think you're going to lose it. So I think that, you know, I really respect your honesty in that, because a lot of people go, I just want to show this face of where I am now. But we've all been there. Every last one of us.
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah, these videos are not here, you know, for ego. They're not here to massage our egos. You know, we're just trying to do something productive and be a part of remembrance. You know, online, inshallah.
I always say to people, you know, if I give you advice, it's not because I got it right. It's because I got it wrong. And I don't want you to get it wrong.
That's a nice one.
You know, people think, oh, you're giving advice, you must be an expert. Yeah, only because I've failed a few times. I think what I would probably say to my my younger self, this would just be at any point in my life, you know, things will change.
Mm.
and that the change might not seem good for you at the time. You'll crave for the thing that's about to change, and you'll want it so badly, and you'll try and hold on to it so badly. But when it slips through your fingers, that's a mercy from Allah.
Absolutely.
Because as one door closes, another one opens.
Alhamdulillah. General advice that I would give myself would be to be kind to myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always been really, really heavy and hard on myself, and alhamdulillah, within that, like there's good within that as well, because it's always kind of pushed me today what needs to get done, irrelevant what other people are doing around me or what other people think, and all the rest of it. But sometimes I've been just a bit too hard on myself, I think.
Well, I'm always telling you that.
That
But then, when I look at you, I see my younger self, and I think, I was the same. I would have pushed myself to the limits. I would have been like, in the pecking order, I was way behind. You know what I mean? Everybody else came first. And it's very hard to break that mold, especially if that's the kind of person you are, that you put everybody else before yourself, But yeah, it's self-preservation. We have to be kind to one another.
Well, it's a duty.
Or to ourselves.
Alhamdulillah, Islam is the answer to everything. It's also a duty to look after yourself. It's a duty, So alhamdulillah, but again, things are good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
really good,
whatever Allah gives us is there's khair in everything.
Yeah.
Khair in everything.
I mean, I don't have everything, but I have everything.
That's it.
Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. I still pinch myself and think, Allah chose me. I didn't even choose Islam. I was guided to a path through what might have been, most people would have said, negative circumstances, or very sad circumstances. But, I was guided. I had 5 other siblings, and Allah put his hand and picked me out and placed me in Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
And for that, every day I pinch myself and I think, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Any mistakes made in this video is a reflection of me and my limitations as a human being, and any good in this video is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God the Almighty.